Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we have lined up for you.
Meteorologists were saying we should brace ourselves for winter weather. Well, it's arrived in many parts of the country. Plus, third quarter GDP numbers are better than expected. How will the Bank of Canada respond when it sets rates in a couple of weeks? And the University of Lethbridge helps students get their day started correctly by buying them breakfast.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. Earlier this week, forecasters sent out a winter weather warning saying we should brace ourselves for a December to remember. Well, it certainly looks and feels like winter has arrived. A snowstorm affecting much of Ontario continues today after heavy snowfall left thousands without power on Thursday. This video from Wednesday near Wawa, Ontario shows a police officer jumping into a ditch to avoid a sliding SUV. Ouch, look at that. Police are reminding motorists to slow down and drive to the road conditions. Environment Canada has issued snow squall and storm warnings for parts of southern Ontario, including areas along the eastern shore of Lake Huron. And that could see snowfall amounts between 40 and 70 centimeters. Meanwhile, areas off of Georgian Bay could reach upwards of 50 centimeters of snow, and northeastern Ontario could expect up to 60 centimeters. Toronto is expected to be spared from the storm, but Hamilton and other parts of the GTA are expecting to see upwards of 15 centimeters. Well, we're seeing varying amounts of snowfall in other parts of the country as well. Here in Lethbridge, drivers had to deal with a substantial accumulation of snow on the morning commute. Environment Canada predicted that 15 to 20 centimeters of snow would fall by Friday evening. The city of Lethbridge will activate snow routes on Saturday at 10 a.m., which means there is no on-street parking allowed on marked snow routes. Snow plows can clear the roads. Lethbridge police, however, say they luckily have not had to respond to many incidents on the road as of Friday morning, but a blowing snow advisory remained throughout the day, which impacted visibility on the roads. The Alberta Motor Association says they are receiving triple the number of calls than normal for services in Lethbridge, and they expect the demand to rise. AMA asks drivers to give themselves extra time, slow down, and drive to the conditions. And stay tuned for weather and what the future forecast looks like in Lethbridge and across Canada later in the program. There was some promising financial news Friday from Stats Canada. It says real gross domestic product, or GDP, rose 2.6% on an annualized basis in the third quarter of the year, well above the Bank of Canada's expectations. That's in stark contrast to a contradiction of 1.8% in the second quarter when U.S. tariffs took hold on the economy. Craig Lord with the Canadian Press looks at what fueled the third quarter growth.
So our trade balance, how much we're exporting compared to how much we're importing, that's where a lot of the growth was. There was a little bit of growth in exports, but the thing fueling the growth was a big drop in imports. When imports go down, that pushes GDP up, and we saw a big contraction in our imports, the biggest quarterly drop since the fourth quarter of 2022. So economists weighing in on this are saying, that's not really fueling growth in our economy just because we're pulling back our imports. Similarly, final domestic demand, which is a fancy term to talk about all the spending in the economy from governments and consumers and businesses, that was slightly negative. And when you look at household consumption slowing down a little bit, people weren't buying passenger vehicles as much, for example, this quarter. The details were not really impressing a lot of economists looking at this report. When you look at the Bank of Canada with a decision coming up on December 10th, it has suggested that it might be done lowering interest rates, and a big headline figure like this 2.6% growth we saw in the third quarter probably gives the Bank of Canada a little bit of confidence that they don't need to keep lowering interest rates to keep our economy on flat footing at this moment, because we posted more growth than they were even expecting when they cut in September and October and signaled they might be done.
With all the attention Thursday focused on the Memorandum of Understanding between Alberta and Ottawa, the province's second quarter fiscal update was somewhat overshadowed. Alberta's deficit has been pegged at $6.4 billion, down $40 million from a projected $6.5 billion this summer. That's despite falling oil prices and trade troubles that continue to threaten Alberta's finances. Finance Minister Nate Horner says the province is in for some tough decisions given its financial woes, including potential cuts to government programs.
We're just getting into our real formal, budget process. We know we're in a deficit position. We know we're projecting deficits in the future as well. So I think we're going to have to continue to prioritize healthcare, education. Those aren't places where you're likely to see it. Health's over their budget currently. A lot of it's volume-driven pressures, physician compensation, more surgeries and the like. So I think we'll have to continue to prioritize from within, and it'll probably mean continued cannibalization of everything else. My goal right now is to show Albertans that we're trying to be very thoughtful with the in-year expenses, the trajectories. We're holding to the fiscal rules, staying below population growth plus inflation. But at some point, it's going to become a services, how much debt you're willing to take, how much revenue you're going to take in now and in the future. For now, this is part of the deficit cycle that we're prepared to live with because growing province. We know we can't stop building to try to keep up with that. But at some point, revenue is going to be an issue.
Alberta's recent rapid population growth is expected to slow next year, but the province is still under added pressure, having topped 5 million residents earlier this year. After being annihilated in the last federal election, the federal New Democrats are in rebuild mode. 5 candidates vying for the leadership of the party squared off in a debate last night in Montreal. The plan was to have 60% of the debate in French, but most of the conversation happened in English, with most candidates admitting they had to work on their French language skills. Here's some of what they had to say in English.
We have to fight against the language of hate, because if you look at the right wing of this country and the right wing of the United States, and I mean the far right wing, is they tell us that we have to hate our neighbor. They tell us if you're angry and your life is tough and you're not getting by, it's because of your neighbor. That's so not right, and it's so not true.
All right, Mr. Lewis,
This
over to you.
dichotomy of electability versus big, bold ideas, it's a false one. Big, bold ideas that actually are big enough to solve the epic crises we face are how we win. They're how we've always won. When Tommy Douglas brought in Medicare, it was not popular. He had to go to war with doctors. Everybody told him it's impractical, it's too big. And now we have changed the life of generations of Canadians in our daily lives, in our skin, and people will never forget the contribution we made.
When Rachel Notley stood with me and endorsed me at my launch, I was extraordinarily proud, because rebuilding the relationship between the federal NDP and the provincial NDP was a goal of mine from the time I was elected in 2019. When we win, when New Democrats get elected, we make life better for Canadians, and that is so important. That's why we're running. That's why it's so important that we win.
We must always, always, always stay connected to the grassroots. You are our party. The people are the party. We are just conduits to bring our message forward. The people need to feel and hear themselves in this party, because they are what's driving us forward.
If you win government, don't go home and leave the work to the people you elected. Get out in the street the next day and demand more, so that the right can't shift the discussion away from the goals of the NDP.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberals had battered the NDP under Jagmeet Singh last spring's election, leaving them to secure just 1 seat in Quebec. As for the French language shortcomings last night, Avi Lewis says the NDP needs to come back to Quebec with a clear offer in French. U.S. President Donald Trump has unleashed an anti-immigrant rant on social media. On Thanksgiving Day, his post on his Truth Social platform, Trump vowed to permanently pause migration from third world countries. This after one of the 2 U.S. National Guard soldiers shot Wednesday died in hospital on Thursday. We get more from Elaine Carroll with the Associated Press.
President Donald Trump vowed on Thanksgiving to permanently pause migration from poorer nations in a blistering late-night anti-immigrant screed posted to social media. On his Truth Social platform, Trump said, quote, "Only reverse migration can fully cure this situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You won't be here for long." His lengthy post came in the wake of the shooting of 2 National Guard members, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, 24, just blocks from the White House. Beckstrom died on Thursday from the shooting, while Wolfe remains in critical condition. Ramanullah Lakanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national who worked with the CIA during the Afghanistan war, is facing charges for the shooting. The suspect emigrated as part of a program to resettle those who helped American troops after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The shooting of the National Guard members appeared to trigger Trump's anger over immigrants, but he did not specifically refer to the event in his social media post.
Trump did not name which countries might be targeted. Such a plan could face legal challenges and has already prompted pushback from UN agencies. It seems like artificial intelligence is everywhere, and right now there's a lot of discussion about its impact on the music industry. People are using AI not just to create music, but also artists with names. Here's an example. This song called Walk My Walk is by an artist called Breaking Rust, and it just topped the country music charts. Give it a listen. His artificial intelligence sounded pretty real, didn't it? The song is credited to fictional artist Breaking Rust, but the vocal style is based on Grammy-nominated country artist Blanco Brown, who says the face doesn't match the voice.
You know, you put in AI what you like, what you love, what you hear, and there's definitely elements of myself within this guy. It's a white AI man with a black voice.
Very little is known about the music's creator. The songs on Breaking Rust's EP are credited to Abier Rivaldo Taylor, someone with virtually no online footprint. Well, we have an update on a story we brought you last night on Bridge City News. A viewer sent in this video to us of a train derailment near Champion, Alberta, which is about 70 kilometers north of Lethbridge. Canadian Pacific Kansas City confirmed to us that it was their train that derailed along Highway 23 just after 12 noon on Thursday. The railway says there were no injuries and no dangerous goods were involved in the derailment. The preliminary assessment is that approximately 34 cars were involved, including 31 hopper cars carrying grain products. 3 tanker cars carrying vegetable oil were also involved. CPKC crews and equipment are now on site working on the cleanup. The cause of the derailment is under investigation. The City of Lethbridge and Lethbridge Police Service will be cracking down on illegal electric dirt bikes, which they say are damaging the trails in the city's river valley and endangering public safety. These e-dirt bikes, unlike regular e-bikes, can reach speeds of 100 kilometers an hour and can catch people off guard who are using the same paths or trails. Even outside of park trails, LPS warns the same e-dirt bikes are not street legal. Therefore, a first offense carries a $500 fine, increasing to $1,000 or $1,500 for repeat violations within 12 months.
These electric dirt bikes are quite different than an e-bike, which is a pedal assist device, which is regulated by the federal government and capped at 32 kilometers per hour. Many of the different electric dirt bikes, which are illegal on any of our pathways, roadways, sidewalks, and throughout the River Valley, have been involved in several events with us, some failing to stop, some near misses throughout the River Valley where they're driving at high speed and almost hitting dog walkers, families, and just people out for a stroll.
When those e-bikes are used, the extra weight and torque creates a lot of disturbance to the soil and the trail surface itself, and that can create deep ruts, causing greater erosion and damage to the trail, which then has to be fixed. So that can be costly for the city, but also costly in terms of the amount of manpower to fix it by our Trail Alliance partners.
LPS says the last 4 traffic fatalities in the city involved some type of motorbike. As final exams approach the end of the current semester for many post-secondary students, the University of Lethbridge wants to do their part to support financially stressed students struggling to feed themselves. The university is bringing back their Buy a Student a Breakfast campaign, where a donation of $6 can provide a student with a free redeemable breakfast coupon on campus. The campaign, as of Friday, raised over $18,000, already doubling the total raised last year.
Students are over the moon, and when you give them the coupon and you engage in that conversation with them, they love it, and then they tell you what they're doing. And what I love as an employer as well is where they're going in their career and what some of their hopes and dreams are. So it isn't just a sandwich. It's when you sit down and have a coffee with someone, those conversations can just explode. So I'm quite excited about that. But what I'm wanting, and I'm doing a call out to a lot of the University of Lethbridge alumni and the supporters of university students, that remember what it was like to be a student. That end of semester, you're stressed, you haven't been working, you've been overstudying, and just that warmth of a meal, and knowing that somebody who's been in your shoes donated it, I think that's powerful.
Oh, isn't that nice? Donations can be made on the university's website. The campaign runs until Tuesday, December 2nd. Afterwards, students will receive coupons on both Lethbridge and Calgary campuses. Black Friday is here, and retailers are hoping for a busy day while shoppers are hoping for good deals. This year, the mix of online and in-store shopping is set to change the usual dynamic, making strategy and patience just as important as the discounts themselves. Our BCN's Heidi Echeverria has the story.
Since early Friday morning, shoppers didn't let the heavy snowfall discourage them in their hunt for Black Friday deals.
It seems like it's less of a day now because stores start throwing out deals, Black Friday week and stuff like that, but it's definitely become more of a thing. Back in the day, it was always just Boxing Day sales. Now in Canada, we adopted Black Friday, so.
What began in 1866 in Philadelphia, USA, describing the chaos of shoppers and traffic after Thanksgiving, crossed into Canada in the late 2000s, when retailers started offering their own Black Friday deals.
Want to get a TV that we've been waiting for a little while, and then some Christmas presents. See what deals we can get.
It's not every year, but especially when we have something in mind.
Right,
then
it's convenient.
Yeah, we'll come and kind of wait for the Black Friday to come.
Yeah, be stressful, of course, but otherwise it's pretty much fun to go out and see all the deals. If you find something nice.
One look and don't care and whatever. Yeah, if I need something, I buy it. If I don't go shopping just for entertainment. They're talking I forget what they're saying here in Canada, it could be 10 or 20 billion worth of sales, 10 billion at least, and yet I think in the G7, we got the highest credit card debt, so I don't think it's wise. If you got that kind of credit card debt, don't buy anything, pay your darn credit card off. That's my advice anyway.
While some look forward to Black Friday, others choose to avoid impulsive buying. The fact is, it is illegal to promote fake discounts using made-up regular prices, a tactic that, according to Stats Canada, often appears during major sales like Black Friday. For Bridge City News, I'm Heidi Echevarria.
Thanks so much, Heidi. And that reminds me, I better get my Christmas shopping started. In other news, a drone operator has been fined for flying a drone in Waterton Lakes and Banff National Parks. Parks Canada says it has investigated videos recently posted to social media showing an unnamed person flying a drone in Waterton Lakes, Banff, and other protected areas. Under a court ruling, the individual has been ordered to pay 2 fines of $2,500 each for taking off and landing a drone in each of the national parks. They are also banned for 1 year from visiting Waterton. The individual was also ordered to remove all social media content depicting illegal drone use in the parks and publish a post informing the public about drone regulations in national parks where flying drones is strictly prohibited. Parks Canada says drones cause serious problems for essential park operations like search and rescue missions and firefighting. That is a no-no. That footage was gorgeous, though, wasn't it? The Ontario government has announced plans to invest $19.5 million in a new fusion energy site in Pickering. The province says the Centre for Fusion Energy will advance clean energy research and academic and industry partnerships in the sector. The federal government will invest $33 million into the centre, while energy company Stellarex plans to contribute $39 million. The announcement comes after the province entered an MOU with the Ontario Power Generation last year to oversee the project. Christmas is less than a month away, hard to believe, and Christmas tree sellers say they are gearing up for some of the busiest days of the year. An early snowfall in some parts of Canada seems to have stoked customer demand, even as some trees are more expensive than last year. David Thibault from Treesy International says sales are up between 15% and 20% from last year. Doug Drysdale from Drysdale Tree Farm says the last weekend of November and the first weekend of December are two of the busiest weekends of the year. And now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX is up 186 to 31,382. The Dow is up 289 to 47,716. The S&P 500 was up 36 to 6,849, and the Nasdaq was up 151 to 23,365. West Texas Intermediate oil was down 16 cents to 58.48 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 23 cents to 4.85 US. Gold was up 57.06 to 42.1671 US an ounce, and silver was up $2.95 to 56.37 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.54 per bushel, barley is at $5.88, canola is at $14.85, and corn is at $7.44 per bushel. Live cattle December contract was up $4.55 to $2.1557. Feeder cattle January contract was up $8.85 to $3.2397, and lean hogs December contract was up 17 cents to $80.60. The Canadian dollar was up over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 71.60 US.
Recapping one of our top stories, Canada's economy grew 2.6% in the third quarter, avoiding a technical recession. Economists say a sharp drop in imports boosted GDP, but is masking weak demand. Household spending also saw its biggest non-pandemic drop in almost 20 years. With mixed signals and soft October estimates, analysts expect the Bank of Canada to hold rates steady into next year. Well, midwife services have been covered by Alberta Health Services since 2009, and more parents are choosing at-home births. Terry Shaw is a registered midwife from Lethbridge, and she shares the benefits of giving birth at home and the continued care midwives provide mommies and newborn babies. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews.